Welcome back to the Pleb Underground. I am your host, Coin Icarus. Guys, we are going to dive into some fun news today. That's right, lots of big things that are happening this week. Before we dive into the show, though, I'm going to do some pre-show announcements for the people who follow the wicked Apple, right? The wicked smart Apple. He has made a website where you can go and check out all of his charts, right? It's wickedsmartbitcoin.com, going to be in the show notes, because a lot of times, right, people want to see all of these interesting metrics. To a certain extent, it's some good hopium, right? Some good fuel for the hopium. Anyways, wickedsmartbitcoin.com. There you go. And as well, very quickly, just a reminder to everyone that's right. And this was Sani XP approved, right? He took a look at this and he goes, yep, I approve of this list, guys. 40% of all the Bitcoin is known to be held by these entities. A little bit of a zoom out. All right, guys. All right. So what stories are we going to be covering today? So, of course, Sailor bought more Bitcoin. Nobody cares. In-kind redemptions approved. Who gets it? What does it really mean? We're going to take a look. Also, there's some progress being made with essentially being able to leverage your Bitcoin for a mortgage. I'm not so excited about it, just because of some of the requirements. Also, today there was some clarity on the Samourai dev plead. Right? Apparently they pled not guilty, and we're going to dive into that. That's right, guys. Big show today. And before we dive into it, you know the deal. Going to give some love to the Pleb Underground sponsors, and we will be right back to dive into all the fun. Oh, wait. And then we're going to take a look at the shout out to Count Bitcoin, who tagged me in this. We're going to take a look at the People's Reserve, right? Because this was some guy that was on Bitcoin Twitter, JC Constantinos or something like that. He loves Bitcoin. Bitcoin's great. Bitcoin's fantastic. All of a sudden, there's a People's Reserve shitcoin. What the hell is that about? So yeah, we're going to take a look at that and dismantle that. Maybe a little bit of shitcoin slaying. Anyways, let's do it. We'll be right back. Pleb Underground is sponsored by Archimedes Emporium. Discover the pinnacle of precision engineering, starting with their Bitcoin logo wall clock, meticulously machined in Maine from a solid block of aerospace-grade aluminum, ensuring unparalleled durability and performance. Experience the difference of a product made without compromise. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium. Okay, we are back. Let's dive into it, guys. So, the SEC has approved the in-kind creation and redemptions for all spot Bitcoin ETFs. And I don't know how the Hopium cheerleaders spin this one out. I don't really care. I have seen some Bitcoiners who thought that for some reason it meant them at the retail level. Guys, look, yes, overall this is a good thing, right? In terms of transparency, in terms of trust, right? Like for the institutions, hey, this is great. It's fantastic. But for us, this means absolutely nothing. Okay, as a retail Bitcoiner, if you want to actually take self-custody of your Bitcoin, don't play stupid games. Okay, don't do the mental gymnastics. Just take self-custody of your Bitcoin. Okay, like let's sit there and buy shares of this thing to then go and take self-custody, because anyways, you can't do that. That's not how this works. So yes, as you guys figured out, this would only be for authorized participants. And who are those people? It's not plebs like you and me, right? It's major Wall Street firms and market makers, not retail traders. Sorry, guys. Unsurprising, but kind of did tell you about that. And I'm not really surprised, right? Not really surprised. Anyways, moving on. We've got another big surprise, right? Everybody knows that, or I shouldn't say everybody, but I think that a lot of people are aware that there was recently a new offering from the MicroStrategy Flywheel machine, right? STRC, another preferred set of shares, which provide a dividend, and to a certain extent, people are comparing it to earning yield on a stable coin. Anyways, I'm not even going to get into this stuff, but yeah. MicroStrategy's up to 628,791 Bitcoin. You know, I can be critical all I want. Good luck to all these other Bitcoin treasury companies attempting to catch up to what Saylor has done. But yeah, I mean, I always have my reservations, right? I hate to say it, but they don't make any actual money, right? They've got dwindling revenues. So I hope that at some point he starts working on that, because he's increasingly creating more classes of shares that pay dividends. And I get that it's like only $11 billion of liabilities on $70 billion worth of Bitcoin. But life comes at us fast, right? Comes at us fast. Anyways, yeah, so they've got more Bitcoin. No surprise there. And let's see. Okay, so next up, the mortgage stuff. Yeah, let's take a look at this. Okay, so last week we started to report on the essentially it was Bill Pulte that put forth a notion that essentially Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae need to get ready to handle digital assets, more specifically Bitcoin. So yesterday, U.S. Senator Cynthia Lummis unveiled the 21st Century Mortgage Act, legislation that mandates the Federal National Mortgage Association and the Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation. It's kind of funny that they separate them. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, it's all just government. It's all just government. Anyways, incorporate digital holdings when determining eligibility for single-family homes. Now, I know that there's kind of some mixed feelings about this, right? Because obviously, never sell your Bitcoin, never spend your Bitcoin, right? These are the types of narratives that we end up hearing. But at the same time, right, people want to be able to leverage their purchasing power of their Bitcoin, right, to increase or to produce better conditions for their lives. This is the piece, right? This is the piece I think is most controversial, right? And that is that if this all goes through and you can borrow against your Bitcoin, it would have to be held on U.S. regulated centralized exchanges. Okay, so it creates this. I was thinking about this, right? So what would be the security for them to just have you move your Bitcoin to a centralized exchange, right? I mean, you move it there for a second, you prove your funds, and then you move it back. So I don't think that makes any sense. I have a sneaking suspicion that if you are going to take a mortgage against your Bitcoin, and part of the rule is that you have to move that Bitcoin to an exchange, I think they're gonna make it mandatory for that Bitcoin not to leave. And again, I feel as though there's going to be some type of a locking mechanism or something like that. But I just don't see it not happening. Because to me, that exchange now becomes the trusted third party for the mortgage, right? So all of a sudden, the mortgage issuer says, "So look, okay, we're gonna lend you this money to buy this house, but you're going to leave your Bitcoin here." And now all of a sudden, that third party that's custodying the Bitcoin, let's say it's Coinbase or something like that, they have equal liability on your mortgage. So it's, I mean, to the extent of now they are on the hook for being the trusted third party to the mortgage lender. I just don't see any other way, because otherwise, like, well, what's the point, right? I can sit there and I can just, fake. I can just dump a bunch of Bitcoin onto a mortgage, boom, onto an exchange, get a mortgage, move it off, and then sell it, and then like none of the assets are there to cover. So I don't know, But then it also kind of makes me think of, I know that when I bought my most recent house. Number one, I didn't have to move my Bitcoin to an exchange to prove assets. And in all fairness, all they really wanted, which I know sounds totally ridiculous, but it's true, all they really wanted was a screenshot of what my holdings were. Not saying that's what I did. I'm just saying that's what they asked for. It's like, wow, you could just get away with it with a screenshot. Anyways, obviously that is not going to be real. So yeah, there's definitely going to be should be interesting what happens with those mortgages. Anyways, all right, moving on from the mortgages, let's go take a look. So anybody who's been following the Samourai drama, right? So Samourai is a it's not a mixing service, right? It is a collaborative spend service. You have to be very careful with the wording, right? It's a collaborative spending. That is what was happening with Samourai's Whirlpool. Now, of course, there's obviously a lot of nuance to that. And for the people who know, essentially, the two creators of Samourai, the head developers, they were arrested and charged with money laundering and, of course, transmitting money without a license. Okay, so Samourai Wallet developers Keone Rodriguez and William Hill have notified the court of a change of plea and expected to plead guilty. This was yesterday. The hearing was scheduled for today at 10 o'clock. Okay, and this is what ended up happening. Samourai Wallet developers plead guilty to unlicensed money transmission. Money laundering charges dropped. Okay. So, I mean, obviously the money transmission license, it's the lesser of two evils, right, to be charged for. So that kind of makes sense that they said, look, like, essentially it seems as though they were stuck between a rock and a hard place, and it seems that these guys knew that they were going to get stuck anyway. So the question, right, what am I going to do? Am I going to take the worst case scenario or the best case scenario? Well, the best case scenario here is just pleading guilty to this unlicensed money transmission thing. Now, I want to bring up a take here from Bitcoin developer Peter Todd. This is what he said yesterday. If they do in fact plead guilty and get a sweetheart deal, I won't be surprised. Samourai Wallet was always incredibly sketchy, so insecure it was indistinguishable from a Fed op. Quite possible Fed orchestrated all of this to both run an insecure wallet and get bad precedent. You know what? So when I first started, when I first started paying attention to mixing services and stuff like that, it's probably back in like 2018, 2019. I remember going to the MIT Bitcoin Expo in 2019, and I saw David Molnar from Wasabi Wallet speak, and I was very interested by these mixing services. It didn't take me long to start to become very, very disenchanted, right, by essentially by the behaviors of both of these camps. And again, right, like I get it. You know, sometimes we have to separate the message or the product from the person disseminating the message, or the person that created the product, right? Like there's unfortunately there's a lot of terrible human beings, right, that have had really good ideas throughout history, and in some cases have acted upon them, and those ideas did move forward in history, right? But the person themselves was a depraved individual or whatever it was. Now, going back to Samourai and Wasabi, the thing is with them is that they both did so much mudslinging that it was very difficult to actually decide, number one, to pick a side, but number two, why is this argument happening, right? And it just soured, in my eyes, the whole entire space in terms of these mixing services. It just created a bad taste in my mouth. It bothered me a lot, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to watch these guys. And from afar, and I'm not going to get involved. So to a certain extent, was this all just a show? Was this all just a giant, just a big play to essentially muddy the waters for these mixing services, right? And also create this precedent. Now, obviously they weren't, they're not being charged with the money laundering, but you see, this case is now documented, right? And going forward, this case, some of it is going to be able to be used going forward in prosecutions or in defenses. So I'm just saying it's, yeah, I don't think this is the end. I don't think this is the end of the Samourai, privacy mixing service thing. Sorry, collaborative spending. Anyways, okay, guys, moving on over here. We're going to take a look at the People's Reserve, right? Let's go take a look. So, all right, got this post over here from Unit of account, man. Thank you so much for tagging me in this. The People's Reserve, Bitcoin-backed loans. We're going to go take a look at those guys. This is, look, I've seen some shit, okay? I have covered probably thousands of altcoins, and I have seen some crap. This is no different. Anyways. So, did you know they have a token sale based on Ethereum? To be perfectly honest, I did not know that. I wasn't aware of it. And when I went to go take a look at the guy who created this, I was kind of surprised, right? Because Bitcoin is the reserve asset of the internet economy, the most pristine form of collateral, but also founder of a company that is essentially a shitcoin affinity scam, which doesn't really, once again, right, completely unsurprising that we end up seeing this type of thing, right? Look, I saw this happen with this guy that sold this. His name was Andy Hoffman. This was back in like 2018, and he would constantly talk about Bitcoin. He was a gold bug, right? So his whole angle was that, hey, he saw the light. He was big into gold, but now he found Bitcoin. It's amazing, and he said all the amazing things about Bitcoin, right? He said all the magic words for months and months and months, lulling everybody into this false sense of security. And lo and behold, one day he drops a post that says, hey guys, I'm launching Brodium. And of course, it was just a shitcoin, right? It was just a shitcoin with, some ridiculous backstory to make you think that it could have similar properties to Bitcoin. And that guy just disappeared into nowhere. So, I mean, this to me, unfortunately, seems to be par for the course once again. It's the same type of thing. He loves Bitcoin, right? He loves Bitcoin, buy his shitcoin. So there you go. Bitcoin powered finance, right? Build wealth smarter. Of course, it's build wealth smarter. Let's go take a look over here. All right. The loyalty token benefits, because guys, nothing says I love Bitcoin more than offering a token for payments in their ecosystem that is not Bitcoin. And I know you guys are probably wondering, oh, Phil, that doesn't make sense. I think if he was trying to build on Bitcoin, he'd be building products using Bitcoin, or he'd be trying to build maybe a side layer on Bitcoin, not necessarily trying to make a new token, but actually providing a product or service. But that, unfortunately, that costs a lot of money, right? That costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of time. There's a really high risk of failure. It's way easier to just produce a token out of thin air, right? And you be the administrative body that doles it out. And guess what? You just got to create an ecosystem that can constantly pump your bag so that way you've got some exit liquidity. That's right, guys. So with that being said, yeah, that's right. We're going to go take a look at their website. It's ridiculousness. Complete ridiculousness. Okay. So you go onto their website, right? It's the People's Reserve. They love, right? They love Bitcoin. So look, Bitcoin powered mortgages. You're like, oh, Phil, you're kind of being tough here. It's all about Bitcoin. Okay. So check this out. So of course you post your Bitcoin as pristine collateral because that's all the shitcoiners want, right? They want your Bitcoin. That's the whole point. The whole point of the story is I want your Bitcoin, and I'm going to hand you this shitcoin that I have created for free that required absolutely nothing that can enrich me. So anyways, so check this out. Okay. So you go get a loan with them, your mortgage payments or whatever it is. But guess what? Okay. Your mortgage payments can be less. How? Right? How can you save money in this scenario? Check this out. Just like a real world asset property claim. Now, we were talking about mortgages. We were talking about real homes. Now, all of a sudden, we're dealing with shitcoins. Real world assets, which, of course, have the Oracle problem. I've gone into this many times. You guys can go back and look at my videos. I've debunked real world assets multiple times. Anyways, so the claiming of the property in our ecosystem generates a home equity contribution earn rate, or a designated monthly cash flow. You're thinking it's real money, but it's not. It's from their real world asset funding reserves. Well, what currency is that, do you say? It's PRN. That's right. It's the People's Reserve token that they're trying to get people to buy, right? And your PRN loyalty level will establish just how rewarding the benefits are for your participation, right? And the higher your loyalty level, of course, just means giving them more money and buying more of their shitty token and playing more in their ecosystem, the more the HEC directly reduces your monthly payment. So essentially, if you guys don't understand what's happening, right? So the way that they are, quote unquote, reducing your monthly payment is by handing you some fake shitcoin that you can dump into their ecosystem, right? But it's smart for them because that creates market activity and it looks like something is happening, but it's not. Okay, next up, what do they have also that's Bitcoin adjacent? Okay, you've got the RWA property, and you'll notice that at the top of every single page, it's always by PRN. He loves Bitcoin. They love Bitcoin. Never forget that while you're buying this random token that does nothing. Okay, so here we go. Unlocking the value of your real estate to generate cash flow with no home ownership risk. That's right, because you don't actually own a home in the fake world, right? In this digital world, you don't own a home. It's not real, right? I can create the same digital street 60 million times over and create the same digital house 60 million times over. There's no value here. There's nothing. It's pure. It is pure garbage. And of course, yeah, there's no homeownership risk at all. Okay, let's see here. So you set up the real world asset fund reserve. This funding reserve is deployed as a delta neutral market, making funds in the digital economy. Depending on your loyalty level, you'll earn up to 7.25% APY. And of course, what are you earning? You're earning 7.25% APY, okay, of this shitcoin. And it's not I mean, I have to say, this is a very interesting type of grift, right? So supposedly you can only create this real world asset home in their digital space if you own your home outright. Okay. So homeowners with fully paid off, no debt properties will be able to generate monthly cash flow from their home equity. So this is that's the carrot on the end of the stick, right? You're going to provide them a whole bunch of information that proves, right? Of course, the title to your home and stuff like that, that proves it's your home. And then they're going to unlock a bunch of shit coins in their ecosystem for you, which again produces market activity in their ecosystem. This is a giant fucking scam. It's just my opinion. Okay. Just my opinion. I have to say that at the end of everything, right? Because otherwise it becomes some type of investment advice if I don't say it's my opinion. All right. This is the last piece to the this puzzle. So once again, right, they love Bitcoin. You're buying PRN even here. So what is this? This is the PRN rental vault. Okay, this is great. Earn PRUSD. So I guess that's some type of wrapped people's reserve token, whatever. By renting your extra PRN tokens to users seeking to maximize their calculable economic benefits. What? Why? Who is borrowing this shitcoin? And what are they doing with this shitcoin besides attempting to dump it on the open market? Or I don't get it. Like, what are you going to do with this shitcoin besides dump it? It doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, so here we go, guys. It's okay. They're giving us an example. We're going to dive into it. Yeah, Bunny, this is such a mess here. Bunny nailed it. What a mess. ACP, hey guys, sorry, I'm like totally sucked into this thing. Yeah, these scammers are going to get scammed by people with fake. I mean, dude, this is wild. This is just such garbage. Okay, so this is their example. Let's say the Bitcoin price drops 10% and PRN price follows with a 20% pullback. That could lead to a user dropping down a loyalty level. Oh no, my fake loyalty points. And losing benefits. Users may not have the ability to purchase more PRN to increase their loyalty level. Better act fast. Not gonna be able to purchase it. Not gonna be able to get there. It's not enough. Limited time offers. With the PRN rental vault, users can pay PRUSD to rent enough loyalty tokens to Maine. What? What? So you buy it to rent it so that you don't lose your loyalty levels? Okay, So I mean, look, if you didn't take away that this is a giant Rube Goldberg machine, I obviously did a poor job of dismantling it and explaining it, and I do apologize because that's probably my fail, right? If you still think that this is somehow a worthwhile thing to look at or do, but guys, make no mistake, I feel like we're dealing with 2017 all over again. This might even be some 2018, 2019 stuff. Okay, way more sophisticated. It kind of reminds me of a little bit. It's like a mix, right, between DeFi and also the what were they called? Decentraland. You know, the fake, right? The fake real estate on the blockchain, right? The mana token or whatever it was called. So it's like a mix between all of these different things. But the key is that he loves Bitcoin, right? That's the key to all of this. And why this is going to work is because the guy who created it loves Bitcoin. And that's really all you need to remember. Guys, don't fall for the People's Reserve. Shout out again, Count Bitcoin, man. I appreciate you tagging me in that. That was a funny one to go through. Guys, that is going to do it for us today. Don't forget, like and subscribe if you find that the show brings you value. Guys, we are going to continue to bring the signal without the hype, right? This is what we do over here at Pleb Underground. And yeah, if you want to stream us sats, check us out on fountain.fm. I am going to catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.